If you missed Combat Sports Digest, you missed... Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Combat Sports Digest, the only combat show with teeth. I'm Jim Rotundo, your host for this week's show, and we're here in Albany, New York for the New York State Wrestling Championships. And we've got an action-packed show for you this week. We'll have the Wrestling Championships. We're going to go in the gym with Marshall Dornick and learn about deadlifts. We've got an interview with Tamdan McCrory as he gets ready for his UFC 96 fight. Then we're going to go over to the Shack, check in with the Leprechaun Elite Wrestling team as they get ready for the New York Junior Wrestling Championships. And then we're going to have a sit-down interview with Leprechaun coach Richie Manning. We got a lot coming up, and we'll be right back.
Down in the bottom of a pit.
Looking for someone to help you reach your health and fitness goals? Marshall Dornick of HealthStrong is your answer. His 6 years of experience in the field of sports medicine, working with a wide variety of athletes, make him uniquely qualified to address multiple fitness and health goals. Marshall is also a certified strength and conditioning specialist and a performance enhancement specialist. So whether you're a serious athlete looking to gain a competitive edge, or a weekend warrior working toward optimal fitness, HealthStrong can take you there.
Pops Athletics wants you to be part of its 2009 Technique and Live Wrestling Camp August 2nd through 5th at Binghamton University. This competitively priced camp is designed to give wrestlers valuable insight on what it takes to be successful at the highest levels of wrestling. You'll work with Binghamton University head coach Pat Papalizio and his staff of counselors to improve your skills both on and off the mat. Camp size is limited, so hurry up and call 607-372-4118 for more information.
The Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive in Johnson City is the new home for all your family fitness needs.
We have everything your family needs to get in shape and stay that way. There's circuit trainers, free weights, treadmills and elliptical trainers. Shamrock Athletic Center also offers aerobics, Pilates, plus a host of combat sports training classes.
What are you waiting for? Get down to the Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive and start getting in shape today. Call 644-1190. Combat Sports Digest is sponsored by the Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive in Johnson City. The Shamrock Athletic Center is your home for complete family fitness.
Probably one of my favorite lifts to do is going to be the deadlift. It brings in muscles in the leg all the way up and through the back and your shoulders. Probably one of the best middle back, upper, lower, middle trap developers is going to be like a deadlift. Plus you really kind of tie in lower back strength, hamstring strength, hip strength. It's great for building that hip extension power. A lot of times, especially in like the combat sports like wrestling, you're going to end up in a position similar to the deadlift where you're kind of pulling off the ground, especially as you get into shots or trying to finish shots. Double leg, single leg, you're in a deadlift type position. So really kind of working on the deadlift is going to help. As far as like setting up for the deadlift is going to be the most important thing as far as a successful lift is concerned. So when you're setting up, just kind of take about a shoulder width stance and really try to think about getting your heels underneath the bar. That's going to get you in a good position for the deadlift, and then you're going to just kind of want to drop down and think more about pushing your hips back as opposed to bending over and just grabbing the bar. A lot of people will tell you to kind of keep your head up, but keeping your head up can kind of increase the arch in your low back, and that can put you in a position that's not as advantageous to completing the deadlift. So make sure that your head and neck kind of stay in line with the entire spine. When you do your grip, you can go 2 hands over. You can do like an overhand, underhand grip. If you have one hand that's got an overhand, the other is an underhand grip, you can pull a little bit heavier and really kind of activate more muscles in through like your hamstrings and your glutes and your low back, as opposed to like a straight overhand grip where you're not going to be able to handle as much weight. An overhand grip is going to work your grip strength a little bit better, so if you want to target more like wrist, forearm strength, definitely kind of go with like an overhand grip for some of those reps as well. I like to kind of change it up. You can do a lot of different stances with the deadlift. The sumo deadlift stance is a little bit wider, but again, setup's going to be similar to it. You're going to want to make sure that your shins are as close to the bar as you can get. Almost try and slide your heels underneath, and then instead of your hands going down the outside of your leg, it's going to go in on the inside, and the grip is going to be a little bit narrower because your hips are wider. The range of motion you're going to work through is a little bit lower, so in some cases, if you're comfortable with it and you have the hip mobility, you can pull a little bit heavier, and it also you tend to feel it a little bit more in through your traps, middle traps, as you bring the weight up and lock it out. You can also do what's called a snatch grip deadlift, which is your feet are going to be closer together, more of a shoulder width type stance, but then your arms are going to be a lot further out from your body. And this is really good as far as increasing range of motion goes. Since your arms are a little bit further out, you have to drop a little bit deeper into the deadlift. Plus that overhand grip on both hands is really going to work your grip strength, and plus when you stand up to lock out the weight, you really have to squeeze your shoulders back, so you get a lot of development in through those trap muscles in through your back, and really kind of emphasize thickness and strength in that area as well. I would recommend, if you can or if your gym allows it, I always like to do deadlifts in the old Converse All-Star Chuck Taylors, or barefoot if you can. That really kind of take some of this instability out of your the movement, especially if you're trying to pull really heavy weights. And you may not realize it, but when you're wearing like tennis shoes or trainers, that extra cushioning provides a slightly unstable surface, so you're not going to be able to pull as much as you would if you were in contact with the ground or had like those flat bottom Chuck Taylors on, or like bare feet. For those wrestlers out there, throw your wrestling shoes on and go through your workout. Using a shoe without excessive arch support is a good way to develop strength in through your feet, and help improve a lot of the muscles in your lower leg. If your feet are strong and the muscles of your toe and your arch are strong, it can really kind of carry over into a lot of other realms of the sport. Plus, it's a great way to do injury prevention.
We're here in Albany at the Times Union Center where the New York State Wrestling Championships are going on. We've got the best wrestlers from Division I and Division II going at it toe-to-toe inside. Let's check it out. We're inside the Times Union Center for the 2009 New York State Public High School Athletic Association Wrestling State Championships. Because of time constraints, we're only going to show highlights from the championship round. However, we here at Combat Sports Digest offer congratulations to all the participants. Also, I owe BGA's Danny Gormley an apology. I said he was a 2-time sectional champ last week, when in fact it was his 3rd title. Sorry, Danny. Starting with the Division II 125-pounders, Green's Nick Wilcox is looking for his 2nd state title in this match against Section 5's Sean Walton from Paul Mack. Wilcox counters Walton's shot by putting him in a cradle. He gets 2 for the takedown plus 2 quick back points to go up 4-0 before Walton does some countering of his own to make it 4-2. Up 6-4 in the 3rd period, Wilcox holds off Walton's attempts to send it into overtime to win his 2nd state title 6-4. I think she sees someone in the crowd she knows. Hey, it's Maddie Mayhem from Shiny Helmet Productions. On to the D2 130-pound championship. Tioga's Derek Heyman is tearing on Genta Mariyama from Section 1's Edgemont. Heyman shot in for a single leg and turned it into a double leg takedown. He takes Mariyama to his back for some near fall points, and Heyman wins himself a state title with an 8-6 victory. Getting away from Section 4 for a match, the Division 235-pound match featured 2 3-time state champions, both from Section 5. Warsaw's Ian Paddock, 53-0 this year, took on Paul Mack's Alex Ekstrom. Ekstrom, in the striped headgear, jumped out to a 2-0 lead with a first period takedown. Paddock got an escape, and then in the third period, Ekstrom let Paddock up to make it 2-2. Good strategy considering Paddock's wrestling with a hurt shoulder. Ekstrom got a takedown near the edge of the mat with 1 minute left in the match, and he held on to join Troy Nickerson, J.P. O'Connor, and Jesse Jansen as the only guys to win more than 3 state titles. Up next in the 140-pound Division II match is Lansing's Kyle Dake going for his second state title against two-time champ Mike Nevinger from Section 5's Lechtworth. Dake would get a takedown and goes up 2-0 near the end of the first period. This was a tight match the whole way, but Kyle Dake held on to win 2-1, and he captured his second state title. Dake has some people to thank.
I'm proud of myself, proud of my coaches. I'd like to thank a lot of people, my family, all the people that supported me, Shamrock, Finger Lakes, Cornell, all those guys. It's a good feeling to have all those people behind you.
You better watch out, the Kyle cam is on you. We have our first ever all Section 4 final at 145 pounds in Division II. This is the third weekend in a row that Waverly's Brian Seawalt takes on BGA's Victor Coronado. After a scoreless first period, Coronado got a little high when he took Seawalt to the mat, and Seawalt turned it into an escape. Coronado came very close in the third period to tying the match up with an escape, but Seawalt, who won the previous 2 meetings, held on for dear life and won the state championship 1-0. Windsor's David Kolbach took on Section 3's Ryan LeBlanc from Morrisville-Eaton. Kolbach wrestled a tough match, but came up short in his bid for a state championship. He dropped the match 4-2. On to the 171-pound Division I match, Shenango Forks' Jesse Villela is taking on Matt Parlier from Section 9's Port Jervis. Villela jumped out to an early lead with a takedown, and he has Parlier in a cradle for some back points. Villela will turn him on his back again, and he wins his first state title 9-2. Pat Newell's calling his bookie to bet he's going to be on Combat Sports Digest. At the same time, in the Division II 171-pound final, Green's Tyler Beckwith was going for his first state title, taking on Section 2's Vinnie Gallo from Chalmont. Gallo shoots on Beckwith, but Beckwith counters and almost throws him to the mat. Beckwith would keep working at it, and he got a first period takedown to go up 2-0. Tyler Beckwith didn't surrender any points in the entire tournament, and he went on to win his first state title 7-0. What are his thoughts on winning a title with Nick Wilcox?
Yeah, he's my best friend and stuff, so it feels great for us to both win this title, and we've been friends forever, so to win it together is the best thing that we could wish for.
Waverly's Chris Noki finished off a great season by winning a state championship. He defeated Section 2's Jeremy Burns from Hoosick Falls. Noki turned him on his back and never looked back as he won 13-6. Section 4 came in second in Division II, losing by a mere 4.5 points to Section 5. Congratulations to all the participants.
The Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive in Johnson City is the new home for all your family fitness needs.
We have everything your family needs to get in shape and stay that way. There's circuit trainers, free weights, treadmills and elliptical trainers. Shamrock Athletic Center also offers aerobics, Pilates, plus a host of combat sports training classes.
What are you waiting for? Get down to the Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive and start getting in shape today. Call 644-1190.
Pops Athletics wants you to be part of its 2009 Technique and Live Wrestling Camp August 2nd through 5th at Binghamton University. This competitively priced camp is designed to give wrestlers valuable insight on what it takes to be successful at the highest levels of wrestling. You'll work with Binghamton University head coach Pat Papalizio and his staff of counselors to improve your skills both on and off the mat. Camp size is limited, so hurry up and call 607-372-4118 for more information.
Looking for someone to help you reach your health and fitness goals? Marshall Dornick of HealthStrong is your answer. His 6 years of experience in the field of sports medicine, working with a wide variety of athletes, make him uniquely qualified to address multiple fitness and health goals. Marshall is also a certified strength and conditioning specialist and a performance enhancement specialist. So whether you're a serious athlete looking to gain a competitive edge or a weekend warrior working toward optimal fitness, HealthStrong can take you there.
Combat Sports Digest is looking for sponsors, advertisers, and support staff. If you'd like to be a part of Combat Sports Digest, Email sponsors at combatsportsdigest.com, and we'll send you more information. Thank you.
We're back from Albany, and we're here at the Shamrock Athletic Center on Riverside Drive. We're here with Scott Green. Now, Tamdan McCrory, the MMA fighter, last night he had a fight in UFC 96. We got the opportunity to go check out Tamdan while he was in training down at the Shack.
Yeah, Tamdan's made a good career for himself. He started off as a scrawny kid from Ithaca in Shamrock Wrestling Club, had some wrestling success, but has wound up being a MMA fighter in the largest organization in the world, UFC.
Right, let's check out Tamdan McCrory. Tamdan, the Barn Cat McCrory, is gearing up for his UFC 96 battle against Ryan the Lion Madigan. McCrory, who's 2-2 in the UFC and 11-2 overall, is hoping Madigan, who's making his UFC debut, will put him over the 500 mark.
I don't think he's really seen the type of competition that I've seen and the type of competition that the UFC brings. So, everybody's a tough fighter, so, you gotta take that into account. Anybody can win on any given day. So just training hard for him and gonna get a big win.
McCrory, who fights for CNY MMA out of Cortland, is not your typical looking MMA fighter. Except for the fact that he's 6'4", there isn't much that's intimidating about him, unless of course you're stepping into the octagon with him, then you better watch out. Tamdan started his journey to the UFC as an outlet to compensate for the fact that he felt like an outcast, a guy who didn't fit in.
From the look of me, obviously, I kind of grew up with, I kind of was a little bit of like an outcast or a little bit of an outsider, and I never really fit in too much. And I just had a lot of anger and rage built up in me.
With all of his pent-up anger, McCrory sought out Eric Charles, a professional MMA fighter, to help train him. It took a lot of persistence, but he finally got Eric to give him a chance.
He was like, yeah, I'll take your number and I'll pick you up and we'll go down. And what ended up happening was he just kind of blew me off, but I ended up showing up anyways, and he was like, oh crap. And I spent a lot of time getting my butt kicked. It wasn't too good. I couldn't throw a punch to save my life.
Tamdan took his lumps in the beginning, but through his persistence and encouragement from his coaches, he stuck with it, and as a result, his life has changed. He could have given up at any point in his journey, but Tamdan has finally found his calling.
My coaches molded me into what I am today. They kind of gave me a positive outlook for all that pent-up aggression, and since then, my life has changed, and I'm not as angry anymore or whatnot. I've kind of just found an outlet for what I had as a youth, and it's changed my life really positively because of it.
Tamdan got a wrestling background in high school, which helped early in his development.
I always wanted to wrestle. I always liked the individual sports. It's man versus man, I just like that kind of person versus person competition as opposed to team sports. I never fit in, so obviously playing team sports wasn't that for me. Luckily with the guys my coaches at Shamrock, they kind of took me under their wings too, and I achieved some moderate success. I just had that never die attitude, and I always wanted to really succeed.
When he got into MMA, he started out as Eric's drill partner, but he really wanted to see how he would do in a real fight.
My coaches were trying to set me up for the fight. I was like, I really want to fight, I really want to do it. And I was training for 2 months, and they were like, we got you a fight. And they didn't even think I could ever win a fight. I mean, I was that horrible when I first started.
Tamdan wasn't expected to even be able to compete in his first fight, but wound up, in his words, clobbering the guy and was quickly given a bigger challenge.
The guy had 20 kickboxing fights and stuff like that. I mean, this guy was a pretty good veteran in the fight game, and I'm here having my second fight ever. But I ended up going out there and, controlling him with my wrestling, and then ended up TKOing him. Ref pulled me off him and everything, and that was the biggest rush in the world, because here you're looking at some 6'4" kid walking to the ring with his glasses on, looking like a scrub.
It was at that point that Tamdan's coaches started believing he was something special, but more importantly, Tamdan believed in himself.
When my coaches were like, this kid's onto something, and that's kind of when I believed it myself, because I had beaten someone that was so much above my level in such a short amount of time, and the ball just kept rolling from there.
He started fighting and didn't lose any fights, and he finally got a chance at the UFC.
Pete Spratt needed an opponent for Ultimate Fight Night 10, or they were looking for somebody, and that same guy, Chris Palmquist, put me in, and he was like, yo, I know this guy, he's 170 pounds, he's won 10 straight fights here on the East Coast.
Back to the topic of appearances, how did he get nicknamed the Barn Cat?
It's kind of like a joke, but in my first fight, I went out there and just clobbered the guy, and there really wasn't a lot of technique involved, aside from a couple of wrestling throws, but my coaches just picked on me, and they're like, yo man, you're ferocious, dude, you're the Barn Cat from now on, and that's been it, man. My nickname's the Barn Cat, and it's just stuck.
Fighting in the UFC is no easy task, but what are some of the challenges that Tamdan faces?
Biggest demands for being in the UFC is just having like the mental game. I mean, it's hard. It's hard work, and you know, you're beating your body up every day. You gotta make sure you're taking care of it. Being on like strict diets and making sure I'm always watching what I'm eating, making sure I'm getting the right practices, the right training. You know, mentally, it's a very taxing thing.
Organized MMA fighting is illegal here in New York State. Is that a challenge?
I mean, I have good coaches. Obviously, they've gotten me to where I am today. I've got great strength and conditioning, great striking, great jiu-jitsu. That's all here in Central New York. So I don't think that as far as training-wise, it really affects me at all. The hardest thing is just finding fights.
Tamdan is part owner in CNY MMA with Eric Charles. Is it just for guys looking to get into the UFC?
Our number one goal here is to lose weight. And we sit down with everybody and make sure that, you know, we know what their goals are and we can get them on the right road to achieving them. People hate going to the gym or running on a treadmill by themselves, but if you come in here and hit the pads with me, you're going to learn, you know, some fitness, you're going to learn some effective self-defense, and you're going to get in shape, and that's one of the big things we have here. On top of that, we have people that look to, you know, compete, and that's also attainable too. We have a couple guys that have come up through the ranks and, you know, been able to compete. I mean, me being one of them.
One of the things that Eric and Tamdan do is they work with at-risk youth. Tamdan explains.
Kind of just give them a little bit of discipline and try and straighten them out, you know. I mean, obviously, I, you know, had my issues growing up, and we just kind of give these guys an outlet for some of that negative energy just like we had. And with some of the kids, we do see a good change, you know. They're positive, they're focused, they come in and they're ready to rock, and it's something that they look forward to.
What does Tamdan have to say to anyone out there who's interested in getting into the MMA?
Told me to quit, people told me I'd never make it, and you can't think like that. If you have a goal in life, whether it's martial arts, whether it's anything that you want to do, you gotta stick to it and find a way to make it happen. And you know, never really give up or let anybody else sway your opinion of yourself and what you can achieve, because the sky's the limit once you put your mind to it.
We wish Tamdan the best of luck in UFC 96. From the Shack on Front Street in Binghamton, I'm Jim Rotundo. Shamrock's team Leprechaun Elite is gearing up for a big tournament.
Yeah, next week down at Union Endicott High School, the New York USA Youth Folk-Style Championships are going to take place. The youth level is one of the most developing levels in wrestling, and our program is no exception, and it's all thanks to Coach Richie Manning.
We're here at the Shack on Front Street in Binghamton for a look at the Shamrock Wrestling Club's Leprechaun Elite team as they prepare for the 2009 Junior States Tournament. Some of New York State's finest junior wrestlers will descend upon Union Endicott March 13th and 14th in hopes of getting that Junior State Championship.
It's the Youth State Tournament. We got a couple weeks just for solid preparation. As you can see, all these little guys, they're working hard, preparing themselves to win a state title or to better themselves what they did the previous year.
The Leprechaun Elite team is made up of wrestlers ages 10 to 14. They have to have 3 years of wrestling experience, and they need permission from their regular coach before they'll be allowed to join. They get together 2 to 3 times a week for a practice that sometimes rivals a high school practice. Coach Richie Manning, who took over coaching the Leprechaun Elite this year, has been around wrestling all his life.
He is what we call a wrestler through and through. You can always tell a wrestler who they are by how they move, how they act. Rich Manning is that person. You can pick Rich Manning out of a crowd and be like, wow, that kid's been a wrestler since the day he was born, and he's always going to be.
With coaching stints at Shenango Valley, Lansing, and Marathon, Manning's helped develop a lot of kids.
He's known kids that are now in their 30s that he's helped coach and train with, and he's been with them since they were 12, 14, and worked them through their college career, their high school career, and he's been in weddings. He's just one of those people that loves the sport and loves to be around the people.
These kids Coach Manning has now are small in stature, but big in heart.
They work their butts off. I train them like I would train a high school team, and they don't say no, ever.
While I was here at practice, I noticed one thing. The kids actually like to have him as their coach.
He's funny and he takes wrestling serious.
He's funny, teaches a lot of moves, really good moves that I've pinned a few kids with. He's taught us. He encourages me a lot.
Why does Manning think he relates well to the younger wrestlers?
I think I'm a goofball, but I'm serious, and I think that combination, they can, take that into hand and be like, oh wow, okay, so he can joke around, but he knows when to be serious and to prepare us to get ready to win.
It's obvious what the kids get from Coach Manning, but what does Coach Manning get from the kids?
The fact that this sport is so mentally and physically demanding that they keep coming back and they want to challenge themselves. Even though they might be taking their lumps here and there, they always come back with a positive attitude.
Local teams are down in numbers of kids wrestling. What does Rich Manning have to say to anyone interested in stepping out on the mats?
If he's thinking about wrestling, obviously I want to try to get him full blast in the wrestling, because it's just it teaches you so much, not just about the sport, but about life. What wrestling instills in kids, I think, is just phenomenal, and I hope every kid can stick with it, because it's very tough, and I just try to keep it positive, and just try to keep it humorous, but keep it serious. It's a tough combination.
We'll let you know how the team did in an upcoming edition of Combat Sports Digest. We wish them the best of luck. From the Shack on Front Street in Binghamton, I'm Jim Rotundo.
The Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive in Johnson City is the new home for all your family fitness needs.
We have everything your family needs to get in shape and stay that way. There's circuit trainers, free weights, treadmills and elliptical trainers. Shamrock Athletic Center also offers aerobics, Pilates, plus a host of combat sports training classes.
What are you waiting for? Get down to the Shamrock Athletic Center at 47 Riverside Drive and start getting in shape today. Call 644-1190.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of Combat Sports Digest. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we've got a cool show lined up for you. I went to Ithaca and spent the day with the Cornell wrestling team, and we sat down with Troy Nickerson for a special interview.
Combat Sports Digest is also going to be your source for local and national wrestling highlights. We're going to take a look at the Division II and Division III national championships, as well as preview all your local qualifiers for the Division I title in St. Louis.
All right, and we've also got an In the Gym segment with Marshall Dornick, and we'll catch up with all the MMA action. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.